Alright, so 2022's Hocus Pocus 2 is directed by Anne Fletcher, story by Jen D'Angelo, David Kirshner, which I believe was one of the writers on the original 1993 film, and Blake Harris. And obviously it brings back the original cast here. We got Bette Midler as Winifred Sanderson, Sarah Jessica Parker as Sarah Sanderson, and Kathy Najimy as Mary Sanderson. And these are characters that can never be recasted. However, in this movie, they kind of do a little bit because we get some of their backstory and get to see them as children. Which, by the way, the child actors that played the younger versions of them absolutely nailed it. Especially Taylor Henderson, who played young Winifred, absolutely on point. But we get to see their backstory growing up in Salem in the time that they were in. Probably like I'm terrible with dates, but like late 1700s, early 1800s, something like that. So we get to see their backstory and see, yeah, they were kind of rotten children, but at the same time, they were very ahead of their time with the ways that they were thinking. And if you know anything about the history of Salem, that's a big no-no. We've seen that in a lot of literature, such as The Crucible, which also got turned into a movie. We've seen it in another movie called The Witch, or The Vitch, if you prefer to call it that. Just kind of seeing how ideas and also like going against certain norms, I guess you could say, how that was really not, I think frowned upon is an understatement, but we get to see how they are very evolved for their time and they don't fit in, and they kind of just don't care. But yeah, giving them that backstory, it makes you feel for them a little bit more, because in the first film, and spoiler alert for the first film, but when you get something like, them being attacked, or, obviously at the end, them kind of dying, obviously they're not dead because they come back in this one, but, like you're happy about that stuff because they are just pure evil. Literally in the first film, in the first not even 10 minutes, they kill a little kid. And I will say this right now, this film doesn't do anything like that. They talk about it, but they don't do it. Which even in the first film, like, it wasn't a huge, like, focus on a kid dying. It's just kind of a small little detail that you notice if you look a little bit. But in this movie, compared to the first one, in my opinion, is a lot more family friendly. I mean, it still has a little bit of adult humor, but just barely enough. I'll just say right now, it has to do with the black flame candle and the whole virgin has to light it thing. There's a little joke in there with Sam Richardson's character and a little kid he's telling a story to, the kid being like, "What's a virgin?" And he's like, "It's a person that hasn't lit a candle before," which I thought that was an amazing joke. And yeah, it just kind of gets away from kind of how adult and a little sexual the first film was, honestly, in my opinion, especially with the character of Sarah Sanderson. She was so sexualized in that first movie, and I'm not like a super woke person or anything like that, but for a movie that's supposed to be for kids, made by Disney, there's a lot of things they got away with in that 1993 film. But in this, it's a lot more accessible to younger audiences, whereas the first one, I think you got to be at least like 6 or 7 to like not be totally afraid of it, and even then, who knows. But these days kids are watching much worse, so I don't know, maybe I'm just talking out of my ass here. But yeah, I mean, there's something about this movie that just has a lot of charm to it. Is it better than the original? I can't really say that. In fact, I'm going to give my rating right now. I think I gave the first one a 6.5 out of 10, which, it's not a movie I revisit every Halloween. It's not one of my favorite movies of all time by any means. I enjoy it, I appreciate it, but it's nothing I really rush back to every Halloween season. This one being the same. However, if I were rewatching the original, I would probably watch this one too. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 6 out of 10. Some of you diehard Hocus Pocus fans out there might be typing away on your keyboard saying, "Oh my God, how could you only rate it that?" But I don't know. It's not necessarily for me, but I do have a lot of appreciation for it. So there you go. Is it as good as everybody says it is? In my opinion, not really, but movies can mean different things to different people. So I can respect that for sure. But yeah, in terms of this being like any better or worse than the first one, I would say it's just like a notch below it, obviously, with the 6 to 6.5 rating there. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a lot more family friendly, a lot less scary for smaller children, which I think helps the, I don't know, it helps for parents to want to show this to their kids. It helps Disney Plus get more views, you know, houses watching, however they do those analytics there. But um, yeah, a lot more easily accessible to just younger audiences, less or not less so, but more so than the original there. That's just me personally. People parent different. I'm not a parent, but you know, if I were, I don't know how I'd feel about letting like a 4-year-old watching Hocus Pocus, but you know, this one I'd be more okay with. It's a lot less scary for sure. Which even the first one, like obviously I'm not scared of the first one, but I can see how for younger children, like it would be a little more scary because there are a lot of dark elements to that first film. Whereas here, it like I said, it's a lot more family friendly. There's a lot more jokes in it. Whereas the first one had a lot of jokes, but like in this one, the witches seem a lot less scary. And I do think that partially is because of giving them the backstory. It introduces you to those characters if you are brand new to the Hocus Pocus films, I guess you could say. Like a younger kid watching this movie for the first time, watching it possibly before the original, it, it it makes them a lot more warm and welcoming. I mean, they're still evil and all that; they're witches, but um, you can kind of see where they're coming from, I guess you could say. But let me talk about some of the other cast members in here. As some of the kids, we have Whitney Peak as Becca, which in this movie, you know, I was with the Sanderson sisters in the very beginning, and I was like, I'm having fun with this. And then we get to the kids in this film, and I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna hate these kids so much. They're gonna be so cringy, and they're gonna try too hard with the like kind of hip, cool humor, like trying to keep up with the trends. They don't do that at all. I mean, they text and whatnot. I mean, there's like a Siri reference in here where Mary says something along the lines of Siri. It sounds like Siri, and then the little Echo Dot or whatever you want to call it is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying." And she's like, "Oh my God, there's a little lady trapped in there." But like they have those references and whatnot, and they have some very obvious what's the word I put here? Product placement, shameless product placement, where you have Walgreens in here, you have Swiffer, and like I said before, you have the little Siri speaker thing. I'm not sure what those are called, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of product placements. Literally in this movie, is it Sarah? Yeah, because Mary Sanderson, instead of flying on a broom, she basically has what are those called? Like the Roombas, like the little robot vacuums. She's basically riding on two of those, which it's kind of stupid, but you don't really see the Roomba logo on it, so it doesn't feel as much like product placement. But then you have Sarah Sanderson literally riding a Swiffer and like little trails of bubbles behind her, and it's like so obviously the Swiffer wet jet or whatever it's called. So I'm just like, oh, Disney, I hate product placement in movies, but I mean, I kind of get it sometimes. But like movies like Transformers, oh my God, that is 99.9% of that movie is product placement, let's be honest. So this one isn't as bad as that, but still it's something I don't necessarily love to see in films, but they integrate it into the story enough and don't overdo it to where it doesn't like ruin anything for me. But it's just kind of a funny thing to see there. But yeah, the other kids in here we have Belissa Escobedo, hopefully I'm saying that right, as Izzy. Which is the one we see with Becca most. And then you have Lila Buckingham as Cassie, which is kind of like an old friend that got new friends and is off with the cooler people now. So it's like they're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Estranged a little bit, I guess you could say. But yeah, they obviously come together in the movie because, like I said, it's a heartwarming film. So, you know, the friends come together and all that. It's fun. And it's nice to have like three female kids as like kind of the leads, I guess you could say, instead of like Whereas before you had like two girls and one guy, and it was the brother and the sister, and then the love interest. And here, there's really no love interest, and I'm just like, thank you. That's what the original did not need, is some romance plot or whatever. But especially since it's a kids movie, like you literally had, and I forget their names. Shoot. But I know one of them was Max, and the other was shoot. I can't remember his love interest's name, but yeah, like literally they slept together. Not like, you know, undoing the whole black flame candle can only be lit by a virgin thing, but just sleeping in the same bed together. And I'm not like conservative by any means, but I'm just like, that's kind of a weird thing to put in a kids movie and kind of a weird idea to put in their heads. But hey, guess they'll all get there at some point. But yeah. Who else do we have in here? We have Doug Jones coming back as Billy Butcherson. Absolutely amazing. Still killing it with this character. Honestly, all the returning characters in this movie, which basically is just, Winifred, Sarah, Mary, and then Billy Butcherson, all of them act as though they've never stopped being these characters. Like, they just fall so perfectly back into the role. So it really just makes this movie for me. So, yeah, I mean, I love seeing these characters. Even though I'm not, like, the biggest fan of the original, I gotta think for nostalgia sometimes, okay? I watched it as a kid, so it's something fun to see now, and I know what it means to, like, somebody like my mom. I know she loves Hocus Pocus, and she very much liked this movie, so it just makes me happy to see that kind of stuff for the fans, even if I'm not the biggest fan of it. Like, just seeing those callbacks and seeing those little characters coming in that people love, so that's always nice. However, Binks the Cat is not in this movie. However, Sam Richardson's character in here, Gilbert the Great, he calls himself. Um, I forget the name of the cat, but it's not Banks, but it is a black cat. And the Sanderson sisters at first, they were like, "Oh my God, is that Banks?" But no. Um, but yeah, it was kind of cool. I wish I could have seen Binks, but at the same time, in the first one, he had such a good send off, and that was perfect. So if they brought him back, that wouldn't do the character justice. But Banks was probably my favorite character in the first movie. But yeah, Sam Richardson as Gilbert, calls himself Gilbert the Great. I believe, yeah. So basically, he is in the old Sanderson house, and he turned it into kind of a magic shop, which Izzy and Becca go to quite often, and they're going there on her birthday or whatnot. But yeah, he's like telling the stories to kids, as I mentioned before, the whole like talking about the black flame candle with the little kid and the whole virgin explanation thing. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but there's some things that his character does that really makes me mad. But at the same time, like, he comes around by the end. Most of the characters in here do come around by the end, so I like that. And then you have Tony Hale in here as the mayor. He plays another character in here, but I don't really want to give too much away. Just so you know, he's not playing like the same character for both roles. It's a little bit different, but yeah. Tony Hale, absolutely amazing actor. I love him. Everything I see him in, he is hilarious, but he also has a lot of depth. So I love seeing him in here, even though his character was just kind of a joke character, but you still kind of felt bad for the guy. He was having a rough night. But yeah, that's pretty much the main cast, I guess I could say here. The actors who play the young versions of the Sanderson sisters. As I said before, Taylor Henderson as young Winifred, Nina Kitchen as young Mary, and Juju Journey Brenner as young Sarah. That's a very cool name. But yeah, there's even a young version of Billy Butcherson here, played by Austin J. Ryan. So that's pretty cool. It says there's teen versions of this Sanderson sisters, but that was not in the movie. So I wonder if some stuff got cut there. I wrote down like pretty much the whole cast in here. I was expecting to see more backstory, but yeah, the teen part didn't really come into play, so that's interesting. But yeah, let me look at some of my notes here. Already talked about like the backstory and whatnot, and just a little note here: seeing their origin really elevates their characters, absolutely. But also the movie doesn't waste any time getting to the fun. It doesn't waste any time getting to what everybody has come to watch this for. is Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. They don't waste any time getting to it, and I appreciate them for that. Let me see here. One thing. They sing One Way or Another in this movie, and yet they go to Walgreens and they're like, oh my God, fluorescent lights and doors that open by themselves. I'm just like, so you haven't seen that before, but somehow you know all the lyrics to One Way or Another. Okay, Disney. Okay. But yeah, that was just kind of a funny thing there. Um, they do something, I think I already said that, but they do something interesting with Whitney Peak's character, Becca. I won't say what that is here, but yeah, definitely different from the original and something bold that they tried. So I think that's cool. Um, yeah, and I think I already said that the ending kind of had me tearing up a bit. Had some really heartfelt moments, very surprising heartfelt moments in here. So I can very much appreciate a movie for that. If a movie makes me tear up or cry, I give it bonus points for that. So honestly, I'd probably put this movie at a 6.5 now that I think about it. I'd put it right neck and neck with the original, which I'm sure a lot of people don't feel the same way, and I'm sure a lot of people maybe do feel the same way. Maybe some people like it more than the original, but I would love to know down in the comments below. Tell me if you're a big Hocus Pocus fan and if you like this movie less, more, or about the same as the original. Because me, personally, I would say it's neck and neck. But yeah, there's even some little details at the very end there, as well as an after credit scene that that alludes to another possible sequel. And the thing about a possible sequel is I don't want these characters to necessarily return, not because I don't love them, but because I feel like this movie kind of closed the book on their characters perfectly, and to bring them back, I don't know. I would feel like that's kind of a disservice. I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously, but there are plenty of directions that they could take in another sequel, but I don't think really many people want to see a sequel if it doesn't involve those three main actresses that played those characters, you know? So, I don't know. Would I watch a sequel? Yes, but chances are I don't think their story could ever be good enough to replace how good Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy are in these roles. So they're getting up there in age, especially like Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy. I don't know if they'd want to come back for another one. I mean, they love these characters for sure, but at a certain point, you gotta kind of say enough is enough. Maybe not like completely quitting acting at a certain age if they don't want to, but like kind of laying a character to rest a little bit, you know? Because yeah, this movie does have a really good send off for those characters, and I would hate to see that be undone just for the sake of fan service and why can't I think of the word nostalgia? There you go. That's a very big theme in a lot of movies nowadays and TV shows. But yeah, overall, 6.5 out of 10 for this movie. I would put it at the same level as the original. But I would love to know what you guys think of it. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you in the middle? I very much enjoyed it, but at the same time, is it going to be something I watch every Halloween and make a point to watch every Halloween? Absolutely not. Is it in like my top 100 movies of all time? No, most likely not. So, I don't know. I hate to be kind of rough on it, but you know what? Screw it. I'm going to give the original and this one a 7 out of 10. I think it earned that after seeing 1 and 2 and just seeing how they kind of brought it all together again and gave it a nice, good send-off, even if they do plan on making another film, most likely without those three main actresses. But yeah, again, let me know how you like this movie down in the comments below. I know there's a lot of people out there that really did not like it or thought it was just okay or just fine. But either way, I would love to know your opinion. So yeah. Also, if you haven't seen the film, do you plan on watching it? Are you a fan of the original? Comment that down below. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. and I will see you in the next one where I should be reviewing some movie or TV show. I'm not sure yet. However, soon, actually, even though I'm trying to close this out right now, thinking I might watch at least the first two Halloween Town films and review those. So if that's something you want to see, comment down below. But yeah, I'm going to stop rambling now. See you later.